The Galactic Academy was the pride of 1,000 species. It floated in orbit around the twin suns of Viridia Prime, its glass domes shimmering like jewels against the cold void. Here the brightest young minds from across the galaxy came to learn diplomacy, strategy, and the shared history that bound the Galactic Concord together. Each species sent its finest cadets to be molded into officers, thinkers, and leaders. None, however, had ever imagined that a human would one day walk those halls. For centuries, the word human had been a whisper, a footnote in ancient archives. A species from a forgotten arm of the galaxy, their homeworld supposedly lost in a war that erased half its neighbors. Few believed they had ever been real. Those who did saw them as myths, relics of a violent age when survival demanded savagery and brilliance in equal measure. So when the first-year cadets gathered for orientation, no one paid attention to the quiet figure standing at the edge of the hall. The chamber was vast, filled with hundreds of beings, scaled, feathered, chitinous, and luminous. The air hummed with languages, scents, and the faint ozone of environmental fields blending together. The instructor, a tall being with crystalline skin, raised a hand. "Welcome, cadets of Cycle 9102. You stand on the threshold of greatness. You will learn history not as it was told, but as it was lived." A murmur rippled through the group. The cadets were eager, nervous, and proud. Many had trained since childhood for this moment. None of them noticed the human yet, not until the instructor gestured toward the front row. "Step forward, all of you from sectors within the inner rings." A dozen cadets moved. Among them was the human, wearing the same silver-trimmed uniform as everyone else. But unlike the others, whose skin shimmered or whose eyes glowed, the human's appearance was disarmingly plain. 2 eyes, dull brown. No scales, no wings, no sensory tendrils. Just soft skin, a short haircut, and a calm gaze. Someone in the back whispered, "What is that? Some kind of off-world variant?" Another snickered, "Maybe a genetic throwback." "Poor thing." The instructor's gaze swept across them. "That is a human." Silence fell. Even the air processors seemed to pause. The cadets looked at one another, uncertain if they had heard correctly. A taller cadet, reptilian and proud, tilted his head. "I thought humans were extinct." The instructor nodded. "So did many. Until the Concord rediscovered Sol 3 years ago. Humanity survived. Murmurs turned into a storm. Questions, disbelief, speculation, all tangled together. The human said nothing. Their eyes remained forward, calm but unreadable. The instructor raised a hand again. "You will treat all fellow cadets with respect. That includes the human." Dismissed. As the crowd dispersed, whispers followed the human like shadows, some curious, others fearful. Later that day, the human found themselves in the strategy hall, where holographic maps of entire star systems shimmered in mid-air. The instructor assigned them a team exercise. Each group was given a scenario, an interstellar border conflict requiring resolution through either diplomacy or tactics. The humans group included the reptilian cadet from earlier, a soft-voiced avian, and a small insectoid being who rarely spoke. The reptilian, whose name was Tarek, immediately took charge. "I'll lead," he declared, tapping the holographic map. "Our objective is to secure the mining colony without provoking the opposing fleet." The human nodded. "That's reasonable," Tarek smirked. "And what do you know about tactics, human?" "I heard your people fought with fire and sticks." The avian winced, feathers ruffling. "Tarek, that's uncalled for." The human didn't react. They simply studied the projection. "Your plan will fail," Tarek hissed. "Excuse me?" "You're assuming the enemy values territory over survival," the human said. "If they're cornered, they'll fight harder. You're leaving them no way out. That's the point. We overwhelm them. That's not strategy. That's attrition." The human's voice was calm, but their eyes burned with quiet intensity. They adjusted the hologram, shifting the fleet's positions. "Force them to think they can retreat. Open a gap here. When they move, cut the supply route. They'll abandon the colony to save their fleet. No bloodshed, no losses." For a moment, Tarek said nothing. Then the avian leaned in. "That's brilliant." Tarek's jaw tightened. "You just guessed." "Try it," the human replied. The simulation began. Holographic fleets moved like living constellations, engines flaring as commands were issued. Within minutes, the scenario played out exactly as the human predicted. The opposing side fell back, abandoning the colony, and the objective was achieved without a single casualty. The room went quiet. Tarek turned slowly. How did you? Humans learned from failure, the human said softly. We had many. From that moment on, whispers about the human spread through the academy. Some said they were a tactical savant. Others claimed they were dangerous, carrying ancient instincts buried deep within their kind. The truth was simpler. They had seen war as no one else had. In lectures about galactic history, most cadets viewed war as abstract. The Concord's long peace had lasted so many centuries that conflict existed only as theory. But for humans, war was memory. One afternoon, the cadets studied the siege of Trionis, a historical battle where the Concord lost half its fleet. The instructor asked what could have been done differently. Cadets debated tactics, fleet formations, and logistics. The human raised a hand. None of that matters, they said. They lost because they didn't understand desperation. The instructor arched a brow. Explain. Every plan fails when hope breaks. If you don't understand how far someone will go when cornered, you don't understand war. The class fell silent again. For most species present, the concept of fighting without hope was alien. For humans, it was history. Weeks turned to months. The human adapted quickly, learning alien languages, mastering zero-gravity maneuvers, excelling in every scenario involving unpredictability. Yet they remained solitary. Some cadets tried to befriend them, curious about their world. The human spoke little of Earth, only that it had endured winters of radiation, oceans of ruin, and skies that once burned. When asked how humanity survived, the human answered, "Because we refused not to." That phrase became whispered around the academy like a proverb. Then came the midterm trials, the most grueling test of the cadets' training. Teams were dropped onto an uninhabited moon to simulate a crisis, communications down, resources limited, objectives unknown. Each team had to survive and secure their beacon before extraction. The humans team included Tarek, the avian, and 2 others from distant worlds. When they landed, a storm rolled across the moon's surface, electric dust clouds that blinded sensors. Their shuttle was damaged in the descent. Tarek took command again. "We find the beacon. Then we signal the retrieval ship. Storm will block any transmission," the human noted. "We need to wait it out." "Waiting is weakness," Tarek snapped. "Move!" They moved. Hours passed under the swirling red haze. The ground cracked beneath their boots. Then the ground shook, subsurface quakes triggered by their own shuttle's reactor leak. The avian panicked. "If that goes critical, then the entire valley goes with it," the human finished. Tarek turned. "We need to find cover. No time. We vent the reactor manually." "Are you insane? That's suicide." The human was already moving, climbing the slope toward the half-buried shuttle. The storm howled, lightning arcing across the sky. They pried open the hatch, radiation alarms screaming. Tarek followed despite himself. "You'll die in there." The human smiled faintly. "Not if I'm quick." Inside, the air shimmered with heat. They worked in silence, fingers steady despite the alarms. Systems flickered. Coolant valves jammed. They used a length of pipe as a lever and forced them open. The pressure dropped. The alarms ceased. When they emerged, their face was pale but steady. The others stared in disbelief. Tarek muttered, "You could have died." "Then I would have. But you'd be alive," the avian spoke softly. "Why risk it?" The human looked at them, eyes unreadable. "Because that's what we do." When the trial ended, their team ranked first. The instructors reviewed the footage with silent awe. The official report called the humans' actions tactically selfless. Unofficially, the legend of the human cadet began. Over the following months, the academy's atmosphere shifted. Those who once mocked the human now sought their counsel. Others kept their distance, wary of what they represented. A reminder that beneath civilization's layers, survival demanded more than intelligence. It demanded will. Then the crisis came. A distress signal arrived from the outer colonies. A rogue fleet, born of a separatist faction, had attacked a Concord outpost. The Academy's orbital station became a command hub overnight. Senior officers scrambled for a response, but most fleets were too far away. The only available ships were training vessels, unarmed except for defense systems. The command council debated evacuation. The human, though still a cadet, stood at the edge of the room listening. Finally, they stepped forward. "Send us," a senior officer turned. "Cadet, this is not your concern. It's everyone's concern," the human said. "You don't have time to wait." The longer you delay, the more lives you lose. The officer frowned. And what would you do with training ships? Make them matter. The silence that followed was heavy. Then the instructor from their first day spoke quietly. Let them try. The cadets volunteered, everyone who had trained beside the human. Under the human's command, they retrofitted the training ships with